Hi, I'm Robert Reil. My background in systems, infrastructure, and precision work taught me that small unseen variables can create large downstream failures. That same pattern shows up when a CRM is expected to fix a sales system that was never clearly designed. Customer relationship management systems are usually installed with a very reasonable expectation. Leaders want better visibility into what is happening with leads, prospects, and customers. They expect better follow-up, better forecasting, cleaner reporting, and a more organized way to manage the sales pipeline. For a short time, that expectation can feel justified because the system is new. The team receives training, and everyone is paying attention. The CRM gets installed, the dashboards look cleaner, and the business feels like it has taken a serious step forward. But several months later, something subtle starts to happen, and this is where the real problem begins to show itself. Usage begins to decline. Employees drift back into old habits, and the CRM becomes something people update or when they have time to, or when they feel like it, not something they rely on to do the work. That needs to be enforced. Eventually, the system becomes partially ignored, and leadership starts wondering why the software did not create the change that they expected. The uncomfortable truth is simple. Most CRM implementations do not fail because the software is weak. They fail because the sales system underneath it was never clearly defined. This pattern shows up across small businesses, growing service companies, sales teams, agencies, clinics, contractors, and local companies trying to become more organized. CRM software is designed to organize customer information, but it cannot create the sales process that customer information is supposed to follow. That distinction matters because many companies buy the platform before they decide how sales should actually happen inside the business. They have not clearly decided who qualifies a lead, who schedules follow-up, what counts as a real opportunity, or when a prospect should move from one stage to the next. So the CRM becomes a container for confusion instead of a structure for execution. One salesperson enters notes in one way, another updates stages differently, and a manager reads the pipeline as if all entries mean the same thing. But they do not mean the same thing, because the team is interpreting the process through personal habits instead of a shared operating standard. In one business, a lead might be considered qualified after a quick phone call. In another department inside the same company, that same lead might stay unqualified until a quote is requested. Both people may believe they are using the CRM correctly, but the data becomes unreliable because the definitions are not aligned. That misalignment is especially dangerous because it stays hidden until leadership needs the CRM to answer a serious question about revenue, staffing, or sales capacity. CRM adoption problems often look like employee resistance when the deeper issue is process ambiguity or lack of clarity. The team is not always rejecting the software. Many times, they are trying to use a tool that was placed on top of unclear rules. A CRM is a tool for tracking a process, not a substitute for the process itself. It's very important that you understand that. If the process does not exist, or it exists only in the owner's head, the software has nothing stable to reinforce. Without a defined sales system, the CRM becomes little more than a shared database where people store notes, attached contact details, and occasional updated records. Managers then attempt to generate reports from that activity, but the reports are built on inconsistent behavior and unstable definitions. So you really don't know what you're going to get, not even a box of chocolates. The dashboard may show open opportunities, but it may not show whether those opportunities are real, qualified, current, or actively moving forward. That creates a second order problem. Leadership begins making decisions from data that looks organized, but is structurally unreliable. Forecasting becomes more guesswork than measurement. Follow-up gaps stay hidden. And pipeline reviews become debates over what the numbers actually mean. Employees begin relying on personal methods, again, because personal methods feel faster than navigating a system that does not match their real workflow. Someone keeps a spreadsheet, someone else relies on memory, another person tracks hot prospects in text messages, and the CRM slowly disconnects from real activity. Once that happens, the business has not solved the sales process problem. It has simply created another place where the same confusion can be stored. There's an old adage, GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. You have to do it all the way, and you have to do it the same way to get what you want. The breakdown usually happens in layers, and the early signals are easy to miss because nothing appears dramatic at first. A few records are incomplete, a few follow-up dates are missing, and a few opportunities sit in the wrong stage longer than they should. At first, these look like small discipline problems. So leadership may respond with reminders, training refreshers, or stronger instructions to use the CRM. But reminders don't fix unclear structure. And more training does not solve a process that has not been designed well enough to be followed consistently. The next layer is behavioral drift, where people begin creating workarounds that make sense to them individually, but damage the shared system collectively. Salespeople may keep private notes because they do not trust the CRM stages, or they may delay updates because the system feels disconnected from how deals actually move. Managers may start asking for separate status updates, which quietly teaches the team that the CRM is not the real source of truth. Once that happens, system avoidance becomes normal. Adoption declines without anyone officially deciding to abandon the platform. The third layer is system fracture, where reporting starts to lose meaning because the CRM no longer represents what is actually happening in the business. Leadership sees pipeline numbers, but the numbers are mixed with stale records, inconsistent stage definitions, duplicated contacts, and opportunities that should have been closed or reclassified weeks earlier. That creates a visibility problem because leaders can no longer separate real sales momentum from administrative noise. Now, I want to take a moment here to interject that the thoughts that's coming through my mind here is if you have a system, but you may not have people that are following it, the answer may not be maybe something that aligned with discipline or more training. It might be building a structure as to who's doing what when. So if you're able to track how many customers you have, you should have an alignment with how many entries you have. If they're one for one, then every entry is coming in. But if not, there's a gap. So figure out who's putting in the entries. Therefore, you'll know who's not putting in the entries, and on, so forth and so forth. So every stage in your pipeline would have a report to show you who is and who is not doing something. And it's not that who is not is a problem. It means they need to be trained. So continuing on, the final layer is compound failure, where weak visibility slows decisions, weak follow-up reduces conversion, and weak forecasting creates financial uncertainty. At that point, the company may blame the CRM, the salesperson, or the vendor. But the deeper failure is the absence of the designed sales operating system. The cost is not only messy data, the cost is slower execution, weaker accountability, and less confidence when leadership needs to choose the next move. The software did not quietly fail by itself. It exposed a process that was already too unclear to scale. Successful CRM implementation begins long before software installation. And that is the part many businesses skip because it feels less exciting than choosing the tool. The first step is to map the sales process clearly enough that everyone understands how leads are qualified, how opportunities progress, and how follow-ups occur. That map should define the stages, the required actions, the ownership points, and the decision rules that move a prospect forward. Before the CRM is configured, the business should be able to explain what the CRM is supposed to support in plain operational language. Here is the before and after contrast that matters. Before structure, the CRM asks employees to interpret the process while they're using the software. After structure, the CRM reinforces a process that has already been clarified, agreed on, and connected to real sales behavior. That is why adoption becomes easier when the operating logic is designed first. People are far more willing to use a system when the system reflects how work should move, not just how a vendor arranged the screens. Employees are not being asked to guess what a stage means, invent their own follow-up rules, or decide alone what leadership expects to see. The system becomes a support tool rather than a replacement for management clarity. Visibility improves because the data is attached to consistent behavior, and leadership gains information that is accurate enough to guide decisions. If this kind of systems thinking is useful to you, this is probably a good time to subscribe, because that is what this channel is built around. This is where opportunity mapping becomes extremely useful because it reveals where the sales system is unclear before the company tries to automate or enforce it. Opportunity mapping looks at the journey from lead capture to follow-up, from qualification to proposal, and from proposal to close. It helps leadership see where prospects stall, where responsibilities are vague, where communication breaks down, and where the CRM would only document the confusion instead of solving it. Once the process becomes visible, leaders can design a structure that supports consistent activity across the team. That structure may include clearer stages, better handoff rules, stronger follow-up timing, clearer task ownership, or better definitions for what counts as a qualified opportunity. Only after that structure exists should CRM tools be introduced, configured, or rebuilt. The platform decision then becomes an implementation decision, not a substitute for strategic clarity. This sequence matters because automation magnifies whatever system it is attached to. If the sales process is clear, automation can reinforce consistency and reduce administrative drag. If the sales process is unclear, automation can accelerate confusion and make the failure look more technical than it really is. CRM platforms do not create sales systems. They support them. That one distinction can save a business a great deal of frustration, wasted software spend, and misplaced blame. A company that defines its process before implementing technology gives the CRM something stable to reinforce. A company that skips that step often ends up with better looking screens, weaker adaptation, and reporting that leadership cannot fully trust. So if your CRM feels underutilized, the first question should not be whether your team needs another reminder to use it. The better question is whether your sales process is clear enough for the CRM to support it consistently. Once that process is visible, the technology can finally do what it was supposed to do: reinforce the system, improve follow-up, strengthen visibility, and help the business scale by design, not by chance. If this helped you see the difference between software adaptation and system clarity, keep looking for the process underneath the tool. That is where the real repair usually begins. Start with clarity, repair the structure, and let the tools reinforce the system. Thank you for stopping by. We'll catch you on the next one.